get familiar. So if you don't know by now, then you should probably get familiar.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of the Professional Automation Mod series. It has been quite a while since I did the first part, and I apologize for that. I've been having trouble finding time to record. I made a community post explaining some stuff about the future of the channel as well, if you want to check that out. But yeah, this is the long-awaited part 2 to the Professional Automation Mod series. Today we're going to be doing the file editing portion of your mod's creation, including compiling it into one vehicle, as well as using previous tutorials like engine sounds to further customize your vehicle. Alright, let's get started. Your first step is going to be pressing escape and coming up here to mods. Then you're going to want to find your mod in this list. Once you've found your mod, it should appear in different units for each trim. You're going to do the same thing for every trim, but basically you just want to click on the mod and click the unpack button right here. It says pack for me because I've already done that. For you, it will say unpack. This will basically unzip the file and let us dig through the contents freely. Once you've hit unpacked, you can come over to this button and hit open in Explorer, and then it will take you to your unpacked vehicles folder where you should be able to find your 3 configs. Before we start with the file editing process, what I'd recommend is just making a backup of your configs so you don't have to re-export them if you mess anything up. Making a backup also allows you to reference things back to how they originally were in a comparison or, in case anything goes wrong. For this video, I strongly recommend using a zipping tool like WinRAR or WinZip. This will allow us to basically take full control of our mod and let us do things that normally wouldn't be allowed. If you so choose, you can also use Notepad++, which is just basically a better version of Notepad. This will make it a lot easier to edit the JBeam and JSON files that are inside of your vehicle. To start off, we're going to create a new folder for the vehicle. So right-click anywhere in the File Explorer window, select New, and then Folder, and then you're going to want to name this folder something that wouldn't conflict with other mods potentially, and would represent your vehicle. So I'm going to go with National, because that is the name of our vehicle, but anything would really work here, just so long as it's not car or vehicle or something of the sort. Inside of the folder you just created, we're going to make 2 new folders. Why does it keep... What is it doing? What is this? Inside of the folder you just created, we're going to make 2 new folders, one of which being Art and the other being Vehicles. Should look something like this. Inside of the Art folder, you're going to make another folder called Sound, and inside of that folder, you're going to make a folder called Blends, and you're going to make another one, that's not the right button, and you're going to make another one called Engine. Now, coming back to the main folder, you're going to go into Vehicles, create a new folder called National_Trims. In place of National, you can put whatever the name of your vehicle is, and that is basically it for all of the folders. Now what we're going to be doing is basically putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So what I've done is I've opened each of our trims in a separate tab in the File Explorer, and we're going to go one by one and drag the contents of them into their respective places. To start off, we're going to begin in the Art folder, in the Sound, and in the Blends. So then you just follow the same path in each of your configs, and you should see this weird JSON file with all of these characters in the title. Then you're just going to drag each one of them to the respective folder. Depending on how many configs you have, you should have that amount of files in your Blends folder. Since we only have 3 configs, we have 3 JSON files in this folder. Now it's basically the same process for the Engine too. You're going to come into Engine, and then go to each of your configs and go into Engine. You should see a folder with the same set of characters that was on your JSON file, and the same thing, you're just going to drag them over. Once again, your Engine folder should look something like this in your new mod. Now each of these folders does have a bunch of sound files in them that we may or may not be using, but the problem is, or at least from what I've noticed, is if you remove these, even if you aren't using them, it causes some errors in the mod, so I just leave them just to be safe. And now for the vehicles folder. You're going to open vehicles and then your trims folder, and then go into each of your configs and do the same. And you'll be presented with this giant list of stuff that includes images, JSON files, and JBeam files. Now essentially what you're going to want to do is copy everything in this folder into your mod. So press Ctrl A to select everything at once, and drag it all into the new national trims folder. Now we have everything from the beater trim in our new folder. And you will do the same thing for the other trims. So now let's go to the next trim, vehicles, GXL, and now we can select everything in here and drag it into national trims. Now, there will be files with identical names. What I'd recommend doing is just clicking replace or skip the files in these destinations, as most of them are identical for a reason because they contain the same information. So I'm just going to select skip these files, and then it'll copy the files that don't have identical names into the folder. And the same thing for the last trim, vehicles, trim, select everything, and drag it over. Once again, skip these files, and now we have everything from our 3 trims in this new folder. Now everything in your old trims should be completely empty. Make sure to go back and check in case you missed anything, but if you didn't, then we are good to move on to the next step. At this point, your mod is not usable yet and will result in an error in BeamNG, so now we're going to fix that. The first step to getting your mod working is coming up to the search bar and finding the Info.json file. There will be multiple Info.json files in your trims folder, one of which being the one we need. The others will have a string of characters on the end, which indicate that they are for each trim and not the overall vehicle. Right now we're going to modify the regular Info.json file, which applies to the whole car. So we're going to hit edit in Notepad++, and it will open the file. The first step is going to be changing the name, which we will change to national, as that is the name of the car. For the type, you can either leave this as automation and it will appear in the automation category of the vehicle selector, or you can put car. I personally like putting car. And for the brand, we are going to put AV. Now we're going to press Ctrl S to save. We can minimize this for now. After fixing the main info.json file, I recommend relaunching the game. Sometimes it can cause problems or give you a fatal Lua error. So after you've relaunched the game, you should be able to find your vehicle in the main selector. Once you click on it, it will have each of your 3 trims inside of the selector. Now if we go to spawn the vehicle, it will end up as a different color as shown in the picture, which we will solve at a later point. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and spawned each of our configs to make sure that nothing broke in the process of file editing, and everything seems to be doing good. So now we're going to move on to the more detailed area, and we're going to be adding some stuff that automation cars lack, and that will make our mod feel a lot more immersive. To start, I'm going to be messing with engine sounds. In the main trims folder, you should see a couple of folders with a string of characters as their title. Each string of characters represents a different trim of the vehicle. The easiest way to identify which one goes with which is finding the image that has that same label, opening it up, and whatever car is shown in that image is the same as the folder that it has its name on. The differentiation is important because we will be applying different principles to different vehicles. Typically, base models will tend to be quieter and have less powerful engines that require less sound than the higher trims, especially if your higher trims are turbocharged. Now, I will link this in the description, but essentially this is a spreadsheet of most of the engine sounds in the game. So basically you can pick out what you like and apply them to your vehicle. I'm not going to show that part in this video because this is going to take too long, and I've already made a tutorial on it. So I will link it in the top right corner. It should pop up, and go ahead and click on that if you need more information on how to do engine sounds. After a little while of work, all of our vehicles are now sounding much better and have all of the code in place. Like I said, I won't be doing an in-depth tutorial in this video since I've already made one, but your finished code should look something like this within the engine JBeam. So if it doesn't look like this, or it doesn't work, you probably messed up somewhere. Now we're going to be moving on to the smaller details. These details are less noticeable than, for example, your engine sound, but they are still nice to have and they add a lot of depth to your vehicle. So if you come over to the Info.json file for the entire vehicle, we did edit this earlier to actually make the car work, but now we're coming back in and we are adding some extra detail that is currently not here. My advice is to leave Camshaft Software as the author, seeing as these files aren't ours, but are instead licensed for us to use. So to avoid getting in any legal trouble, which you probably wouldn't anyway, I just wouldn't touch this. But we can add country, which is a missing stat of automation cars, and now you can put in whatever country your vehicle is from. Now, my vehicle is from the United States, so I'm going to put that in the country. For the body style, which is another principle that this is missing, this is a sedan, so I'm going to put sedan. Next up, for the Derby class, this is a mid-sized car, so you can put mid-sized car. And if you aren't sure what to put for each of these new details, you can always look at existing BeamNG models that are similar to your vehicle, because I don't know about you, but I don't know all the Derby classes. So if you find a similar vehicle to yours in BeamNG, then you can look at those parameters and determine what category your car fits into. Type, we already edited this, it is a car, and the brand is AV. Now, if you want your vehicle to appear in BeamNG career mode in the shops, in the tuning area, so you can buy it and drive your automation car in career mode, you're going to want to put insurance class here, like so. And if you want it to be readily available, you can put daily driver. There is another class of insurance for sports cars and another class above that for hypercars and supercars. I personally don't know what to put here for those, and because this is a regular car, we don't need to put that there anyway. Coming down past the default _PC, we can tab in and put years and a squiggle bracket, and then you put max, and this is the end of production for your vehicle. We can say that this ends production in 2003. And then for the min year, which is when your vehicle starts production, we can say 1998. Then at the bottom here, put another squiggle bracket and a comma. Press Ctrl S to save, and if we come back to our game, if we come back to our game after relaunching it, we will find that our parameters have been applied to our vehicle. Now, as we can see, we have the country of United States, and we have all of the parameters that we added down here, like the Derby class and the type. Now we're pretty much going to do the same thing, but instead of the overall info.json file, we are going to use the individual ones for each config. So this is the Sport GT. What I'd recommend doing is adding an A or an M in the configuration name in parentheses, based on whether your car is automatic or manual. Most official BeamNG cars have this designation, and it also helps if you have multiple transmissions for your vehicles. For the description, it's as simple as it sounds. It is the description of the trim. So what I've done is I've just put something simple, top of the line sport model featuring a turbocharged V6 and all-wheel drive. Unfortunately, you do also have to edit the years for each individual config. So the min year is 1998 and the max year is 2003. Coming down here to value, if you want your car to be a specific price, you can put that in. Also, if you're, once again, planning on this being in career mode, it will anchor your vehicle to a fixed price range in the shop. So brand new, I'm going to say this vehicle was $25,000. And one more thing, once again, if you want your vehicle to appear in career mode, you got to put population in your individual config file. Set that to 15,000. I've made many mistakes by not including this before, so if you intend to use your vehicle in career mode, make sure to put this line. Now, here's where that backup comes into play. So right now in the info.json file, we have paints and then all of the available paints for the vehicle. Unfortunately, default 1 is the paint that you exported your vehicle from automation in. It replaced that default 1 paint over and over again, and now it's at the beater trims paint. So now we're going to go back into the backup, rename each paint, and copy and paste it into here. And then we can also change the default paint name 1 in each config to display the correct color. So I'm going to do that real quick and then go over how it should look. Alright, after you're done with copying your paints, it should look something like this. Basically what I did is I came over here to our backup and copied each of the default paint colors from the Info.json file of each separate individual car, and copied and pasted them over here and renamed them. This paint name is a reference, and if anyone gets that reference, I will personally pin your comment. Now, if we go into each of our configs, we can match up each of the color names with the paint names. So for the Sport GT, I have Stealth Black. So for the paint name, I'm going to put Stealth Black, and do the same for the other configs. Now, if we go back into the game, we can press F5, and that will reload our UI. And now, when we spawn our vehicle, it will be in the correct color. And one final thing I recommend doing, especially if you're going to publish your mod, is coming to the license.txt in your file, and putting under the first few lines, files were legally edited, modified, and distributed by the user, your username, under the protections of the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. I just personally put this if I'm publishing my mod because, you know, I am officially making it into a quote-unquote commercial product. It is not a personal product anymore. It's probably not necessary, but, you know, I just put it to be safe. And it doesn't have to be word for word identical to mine. This is just an example. I will put this in the description if you want to copy and paste it into your file. And that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all of the support on this series, especially on the first part. And once again, I sincerely apologize for how long of a wait it has been since part 1. My merch link will be in the description if you want to support me, and all of the code from this video will also be in the description. Make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and so you can see more content like this in the future. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about your mod or what I did, please leave them in the comments below and I will try my best to answer them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.